Hello and welcome to Untwisted Threads. This is Peer Gynt from Sandnes Garn. This 100% Norwegian wool yarn features 53 solids, tweeds, and 15 petite knit collaboration colorways. The color that we chose is 2511 Almond. This 50-gram skein with 91 meters or 100 yards works up as a DK weight yarn. The suggested gauge on 3.5 to 4 millimeter needles is 22 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For today's swatch, I'll be using a 4.5 millimeter needle size. In today's video, we're going to review and score Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt using our 5 categories, which are availability, softness, traction, durability, and cost, to help you decide if this is the best yarn for you and your next project. Stay tuned until the end for a few pattern recommendations as well. Let's get started. For availability, we give Peer Gynt a score of 4 out of 5. Sandnes Garn originates from Norway, and typically when a yarn brand is European-based, it's not always very common here in the States. Although this yarn isn't available at any major craft websites here in the US or even the UK that we know of, there are quite a few purchasing options from smaller craft shops. I imagine in the UK and Europe, this yarn is probably at quite a few, if not at all of your local yarn shops. For softness, we give it a score of 3 out of 5. If you say wool yarn, this is pretty much what I think of. It's a bit dense, has long fibers, structure, and a bit of a dry hand. With my sensitive skin, something I really try to look for when knitting is a woolly look or woolly feeling yarn, but soft enough that I can knit and enjoy it. My hands noticed this yarn as I worked with it, but it wasn't itchy or rough enough that I felt like I needed a break from it as I was making my small swatch. But unfortunately, I do think it would be too irritating over time for me to work with and wear next to skin. For comparison, it is softer than Jamieson & Smith Shetland Heritage, but not quite as soft as Cascade 220. I would say it is pretty comparable to Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. On a micron count scale, Norwegian wool like this one averages around a 28 micron count, which is just slightly more rustic than the more common Peruvian highland wool. 27 is what I consider to be my itch limit, or as rustic or scratchy as my sensitive skin will allow. In terms of warmth and breathability, you'll be happy to hear that Norwegian wool has great breathability along with an excellent warmth to weight ratio. For traction, we give it a score of 4 out of 5. This yarn has some grip. Its long fibers really liked holding on to my nickel-plated needles as I worked with it, but surprisingly, it wasn't trying to stick to itself. I noticed them sticking up away from the yarn, but I didn't find them getting in the way when knitting with it. So if you're used to wooden or bamboo needles, I would just put those aside if you're wanting to work with this yarn, because I have a feeling it wouldn't slide or glide very well as you're working with it. It kind of felt like my hands were doing a workout because I had to work harder to knit with this yarn. For durability, we give it a score of 4.5 out of 5. Although no yarn is perfect, this 4-ply Norwegian wool is very hardy, durable, and is pill resistant. So this yarn is more than likely going to hold up longer than your makes in merino yarn. It is this type of resilience that will allow your garment to last a long time if you take care of it. Because it is not superwash treated, you will need to hand wash your garments, which is what I do with my garments anyway, so that doesn't really change much in my opinion. As described on the Sandnes Garn website, the friction or agitation of washing and drying sometimes can cause the fibers of this type of yarn to felt together. And honestly, wool rarely needs washing anyways, so I would say that this one could be great for outerwear garments with a layer underneath it. For cost, we give it a score of 2.5 out of 5. For being a 50-gram skein, you can expect to pay $8 US per skein. this breaks down to about 8 cents per yard, meaning a size medium sweater would cost approximately $96. And more commonly than not, if you're able to purchase this yarn overseas or not here in the US, that could make this yarn more budget friendly. Overall, we give Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt a score of 3.6 out of 5. If you have sensitive skin like I do, this may not be a great yarn for you to pick. However, you could try pre-washing the yarn, as oftentimes wool will get softer after washing. I think it would do really well as an outerwear piece that you can layer with. As a fun fact, this yarn has been on the market from Sandnes Garn since 1938, and in 2022, Sandnes Garn released a thinner 3-ply version using the same fiber, and it's called 10 Peer Gynt. So we had a little look on Ravelry and wanted to share a few pattern recommendations with you, hopefully to inspire you if you're wanting to make something with Peer Gynt. The first pattern is Fjordfolk by Linka Neumann. Designed with this yarn in mind, this bottom-up sweater is knitted in the round and features an all-over colorwork design. Its design with paw prints was inspired by traditional Norwegian sweaters. It recommends using 3 colors, and with this yarn you have over 68 colorway options and even more color combinations that you could choose from. As mentioned earlier, I think an outerwear piece in this yarn would be great because you would still be able to utilize the yarn and garment, but layer with it so it's not potentially irritating your skin. The next pattern is the Muisto hat and mittens by Ronja Hakalehto. Another colorwork pattern, the hat, mittens, or both would absolutely keep you warm in colder months. Especially since it is colorwork, the double layer of the floats would make the fabric thicker, and that would keep you even warmer. I love the classic red and white colors used for the sample, and they really remind me of the holidays. And as a tip, if you're concerned about the yarn being too rustic next to your skin, you could add a layer of fabric as a lining to the hat, making the yarn potentially not so irritating for your skin. The last pattern is the Viveca cardigan and vest by the Weststrand sisters. It features a wide V-neck with a cable pattern and drop shoulder. The body is in reverse stockinette stitch and worked from the bottom up in one piece, back and forth until reaching the underarm where the work is divided in back and front. After joining the shoulders, stitches are picked up around the armholes. Now you can either knit the vest or cardigan version, which I love a pattern that has options for versatility. With using this particular yarn, I would probably go up a size or 2 in the pattern to allow myself to have that extra room and loose fit for me to be able to layer underneath it. I also think this Norwegian wool would really show off the beautiful cables and texture included in this design. Have you used Sandnes Garn Peer Gynt yarn before? What yarn would you like for us to do a review on next? We would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's review, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.